It would seem Prometheus has brought me a kindness, the gift of light. Now, depending on what I do with that kindness, I could either bring about never-ending destruction or a brave new world. I choose to make a YouTube video about a very sad man and a very big bomb. Greetings and salutations. Today we're going to be talking about Oppenheimer and all the spoiler-ridden details in the film that is directed and written by Christopher Nolan and his star-studded team. He pulled out the trap card like it was Yu-Gi-Oh! He did that. He had Cillian Murphy, he had Robert Downey Jr., he had Florence Pugh, he had Emily Blunt and Matt Damon, and many more. I'm running out of names. But this man has the line running. Josh Peck stopped filming his TikToks for 2 seconds and came in this film. Did what he had to do, didn't really do too much, but he came in and he left. I was interested in this film because ERB made a video like 5 years ago with Oppenheimer versus Thanos, and it's never left my soul. Considering the strikes that are happening in Hollywood between the actors, the writers, the screenwriters, the directors, and the studio productions that are behind them, it seems like Nolan completely negates all of that. To see that he has lifelong relationships with these actors, Cillian Murphy specifically, like this man has been in 6 movies. It's not a Nolan film unless Cillian Murphy's in it. And it just shows how much he cares about the production and the work that he's putting out. As a longtime fan and as a resident in the Murphyverse, I have to say that Cillian Murphy is a once-in-a-lifetime talent. I've seen him carry a decade-long TV show. I've seen him do many good performances and even underwhelming plots or even great overarching plots that showcase him as like a side plot character. But overall, I have never seen him carry the world of a film the way he carried this one and proceed to shrug. This man walked out of his own premiere. I can also appreciate that he's not the type of person to be pimping or probing or doing BuzzFeed dog videos or whatever on social media. He's not trying to paint himself as some likable character for the interest of others. He's literally just doing his own thing. You can clearly tell he takes passion in it, and he's got a face that's so full of contradictions and it's so beautifully written and told in this film. Throughout the film, the present and the past are presented in a non-linear pattern, which is a standard for Nolan. Considering there's a lot of details you have to adjust, condense, and present in an entertaining format, it makes sense. But the first time watching it, I was annoyed. It annoyed the hell out of me. You spend 70% of the film unconscious, and then all of a sudden you're just born. You're 8 years old. You're playing Minecraft right now. How did it happen? No idea. You're here. Hello. Good morning. We're constantly shifting between 2 different perspectives, one that is color graded black and white and the other one that is in a full spectrum of color. I thought the color was supposed to represent Oppenheimer as someone that is how he was before the Manhattan Project, which is, full of color, full of life. Whereas black and white, you start seeing the conspiracy theory aspect, the things that are being said about Oppenheimer, the consequences of his actions in the Manhattan Project. And by that point, you see him as a very numb and drained person. Most likely a stretch, but that's what I gathered from the whole allegory between him being the Greek god Prometheus, who is someone that basically brought light to humanity as a gift after stealing it from the Olympians, and the Olympians decided to punish him for his theft. The movie documents Oppenheimer as this tortured intellect that regrets his contributions, and the soundtrack perfectly encompasses this. The score is beyond insane. Like there's no track that's not hitting in the feelers. But there would be sometimes like I'm just watching the movie, or like when I was in that state of unconsciousness, and all of a sudden I realize the music is cueing, and I'm just like, why do I feel like death and destruction is about to happen before I even get to death and destruction? Kenneth is over here talking about, can I hear the music? And then I hear the music, and then I feel the music, and then I'm in the sunken place because my anxiety cannot handle the amount of vibrations that are happening in an IMAX theater. Like walking into a room saying, hi, I'm Oppenheimer, and the music is just... Like, this man is just talking. The man is just saying hello. Not only is this film of its prowess filled with a lot of physics jargon, but the audio isn't quite the best. It's very difficult to understand in parts, and I barely passed AP Physics, so it's bad enough that that's there, which Nolan has explained that IMAX audio in cameras isn't quite the best, so a lot of directors will probably try and do PPA. Nolan doesn't do that. Doesn't like doing that. This man is a naturalist down to the freaking bone. Thus why I had to watch the movie a second time, which is fine. Not a lot of people are going to do that though, so that's something that could be negating towards the movie. I love that Nolan experimented a lot with the video and sound design. You could tell that he was having a lot of fun. With Oppenheimer, when there's a moment of tension, you could see like the background melt and distort as if he's reimagining the bomb's effect. But in also other scenes, I would see the background was shaking behind Oppenheimer, and I was like, this This feels awfully familiar. I see it, I like it, I respect it. Real recognizes real. Nolan is one of the few writers and directors who can perfectly write drama, anticipation, and anxiety. Like, if he were to swan dive into horror and thriller concepts, I would start believing that horror films aren't inherently terrible. Just kidding. All of them are. Somehow, this man made documented history a surprise. Like, the bomb wasn't gonna go off. For the record, it did go off. 3 times, in fact, and I'm still surprised. I can also imagine to others that when the atomic bomb finally goes off in the film, that it's a bit underwhelming. Like, guys, these are all practical effects. Are we really expecting Nolan to go drive out? Not drive. There's no road. There's no roads to Japan. I don't want to hear any of this Nolan slander. I don't want to hear any of this. The bomb was underwhelming. It was fine. The bomb scene was fine. I'd say outside of the Barbenheimer complexes and whatnot, and the people that were also hating on Oppenheimer for the bomb scene and this being a controversial figure and how they were going to paint a historical moment in modern history. We are dealing with a truly neutral figurehead, somebody that created the atomic bomb and in the same breath had so much care for the people that were around him and also other causes that were happening in the time of World War II. And as a biopic, it managed to detail 4 things of importance, which are: what circumstances created Oppenheimer? Why did they create the bomb? How did it affect all the individuals that were involved? And what do I take away? The only people to prop up Oppenheimer as a hero was us. We are the hypocrites, historically, at least. You see it represented here. Men, women, and children are celebrating and cheering over the ashes of their enemies after a man who essentially created the nuclear arms race became an epilogue in the books of World War II. But before we even got to the end of the Manhattan Project, the war was already done. It was over. And as far as Oppenheimer would have been concerned, he served his country and took physics years ahead. Well, as far as theory is concerned. When the bomb went off, there was mixed reactions all across the board. Some people laughed, some people cried, some people threw up in a trash can, and others were silent because they were reserved on their emotions and they had to accept the responsibility of what happened in Los Alamos. And what then? Oppenheimer attended hearing after hearing, discussed different political policies on what we could do with nuclear bombs and nuclear weapons, that they were not to be used at all, and tried to fizzle them out as much as possible and prevent them from making an even bigger bomb. But they did that anyway. As a scientist, you're thinking, I contributed to the greatest discovery and saved lives. And as a human being, you're thinking, will the lives I saved ever be worth the lives I killed to do so? So you're just stuck watching Oppenheimer dissolve into himself for the last hour of the film, and he's less of his self-assured and confident self, and back to that 22-year-old that has anxiety attacks every 10 seconds and just is very mousy and doesn't like talking to people. That sounds awfully familiar. It was so painful. The way this man just drew into himself and became a numb person to the point where he thought his colleagues betraying him was the punishment that was just fitting the crime. You can take that poison apple back, but you can't take back Hiroshima. Lewis Strauss was a butt munch. And Robert Downey Jr. plays him expertly. Just to silence him, he was talking to military mutts. He was talking to Green Goblin and leaking out his Oppenheimer dossiers. He was also talking to courtroom liaisons and infesting the political scene. And on top of that, he was infesting journalist papers saying all this stuff about Oppenheimer. He took the actions of one introvert personally. You're telling me you're not thinking about the destruction of humanity and the idiocy of everyone around you and just wanting to get as far away from as possible? No? It's just me? Okay. They just don't want my boy Oppenheimer to win. First time watching, I just remember I was so frustrated by the inaction of Oppenheimer and how unwilling he was to even fight against anything. Like, you're gonna just sit there and let the president of the United States call you a bench and in the same breath have the confidence and the utter gall to flirt with another married woman while your own wife is across the room looking at you. Crazy! The way he can father a bomb, but he can't commit to his wife or child. Meanwhile, also getting on the low with Miss Jean across the street, having naked debates on communism. But by the end of everything, I was also ready to just take the flowers and throw them in the trash, because the way this movie ended and the way I wanted to leave, like Robert Downey Jr. left Wall Street.
That building is hell. This is the most obnoxious group of money-hungry, low IQ, high energy, jackrabbit, fucking wannabe, big time, small time, shit talking, bothersome, irritating bunch of motherfuckers I have ever had to endure.
In the end, I'm left with little to no hearing, emotionally scarred, somewhat inspired. Overall, I'd probably place this as one of my top 3 Nolan films and one of the best films I've seen this year. There's no other movie that can replicate as masterful of an event as this. Like, Barbenheimer did not need to happen. They're trying to make Saw Patrol happen. It will never happen. But this is it, guys. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm so glad I'm consciously aware of it. And I'm so glad that it happened to one of the GOATs. This film is neither anti nor pro-America or pro-military or anti-military. It is literally just the retelling of events that happened in history. For me, it's based entirely on the presence of humanity, a completely neutral entity that brings about several contradictions and also other good things. And as you watch the life of Oppenheimer, you see a man tipping the scales. He is testing his own humanity, testing theories, pushing limits, and making mistakes he'd want to correct later in life. Whether it's brilliance in invention, or its flaws, or its established ideals, it takes one tip to one side to cause further unending destruction. Hey guys, it's been a bit. Sorry for the 2-year wait, but I finally got to making a video. Yay, we got one this year. This is a whole new setup. I don't know how this is gonna work out. Editing might be a nightmare, but I'm gonna get to this as soon as possible for you guys. But yeah, thanks for sticking around, and I really appreciate you guys for supporting me as much as you can. It's been great, and hopefully we'll be able to create some fun things in the future. I'm gonna be experimenting with a lot of things. I hope you guys enjoy the video nonetheless. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy my content, or if you just want to see me around sometimes. Be sure to comment down below your theories and inquiries, and I'll respond to them as soon as possible.
I am become deaf. You need an Iron Man for that wrinkly ass skin and that butt chin. Go now. Where's your rhythm? I told you about the time stone. Punchlines sound like they came from round town. You might be something in the MCU, but between us, who's it worth the MCU? The dialogue's got too many breaks in the syllable. You talk so slow, Drax thinks you're invisible. I cause chain reactions when I'm lyrical, cause I've got that Bizzare material. The bond of eternal. But came on looking so scary. But your own mother tried to make you a temporary. Meanwhile, I've mastered the art of